I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Craig Wright, who has been nice enough to join us for a discussion here on WhalePool regarding the upcoming Bitcoin Cash upgrade, which is coming up here on Thursday. Bitcoin Viper was nice enough to take the initiative to engage in Craig Wright and telling him to come on and join the community and to have this discussion. And so we have a lot to discuss regarding a lot of news happening around this upgrade, and a lot of fake news coming from different areas. There's a lot of people with propaganda in different areas. So maybe Craig will be able to clear up some of these misconceptions. So we're hoping here to have a nice open dialogue. We don't want to have unconstructive trolling. We don't want to have any kind of abuse or any stupid things. So let's have a nice civilized discussion. And so let me hand it over to Viper, who has set up this conversation, and he can begin the dialogue. Viper, take it from here.
Thank you, Swapman, and Craig, welcome to WhalePool. Just start off by telling us a bit about yourself, maybe, and specifically about your life before you got into, or before Bitcoin.
Where do you want to start? I mean, I'm an old bugger, so it goes back a long way.
Well, you're very accomplished. You've got a lot of degrees, but just about maybe how your life was before Bitcoin and how it's changed since.
Well, I spent a little bit of time in the military. I was not exactly rich, so I was one of these people who were dumb enough to actually join up because the government would help pay for my things, and then I left and did other sort of bits and pieces all over the place after that. I haven't actually stopped studying. I like study, so one degree after another, but usually they overlap. I worked in the Australian Stock Exchange for a while. Then I started my own company. I had a little bit of an epic battle with minority investors over what we were doing, and a whole lot of bits and pieces there. From there, went into working for an accounting firm in Australia. The reason I had to get a real job is I lost a lot of clients all of a sudden because of the US government. I had a lot of clients in the gambling industry, and after the payment stuff stopped, we're not talking illegal casinos, we're talking Lassiter's and Playboy Casino and things like this. The Americans stopped all the payments, which basically stopped all my payments. So I had to go out and get a real job until December 2008, when, because of the downturn, BDO gave me a golden handshake and I went off, and haven't really been anything but a troublemaker since then.
And fast forward to about a year ago, you forged quite a strong relationship with Roger Ver and Jihan. Can you tell us a bit about how that relationship came to be, and what sort of things changed that sort of developed into how that relationship is now?
Well, I didn't really form a strong relationship with Jihan. With Bitmain and Jihan, I approached them a little over a year ago, and I talked to Jihan about 15 months ago about building a pool like we've done now. The idea being to stop SegWit and scale BTC. So we were planning on doing that, and we unfortunately were stupid enough to trust Jihan, and that resulted in him undercutting us, and from there we have the split. Roger, on the other hand, Roger, if he wants to support free money, as in sound money that is available to the world, good. But you don't do that by allowing illegal constructs to be built into money. If you put DSV and you basically run a bucket shop without a license, then you're going to be shut down. And if you have that built into the protocol, then all you're doing is asking for money to be shut down.
So don't you think though that Bitcoin on the protocol level has already characteristics which are able to facilitate this sort of illicit behavior, which so that the marginal impact of DSV in that sense wouldn't actually be that strong? I mean, for example, a big reason why I and many others got involved with Bitcoin was because Silk Road and WikiLeaks, it demonstrated that Bitcoin was an ability to transfer value in a censorship-resistant manner, and so it's almost already baked into the protocol in the minds of many of us that this, it's just like it's a tool. It can be used for illicit and bad purposes, but it also can be used for great purposes. So in the marginal sense of this DSV addition, which ABC has, how much really of a difference does that make?
Totally. I mean, you're just wrong there. The problem you're saying is that cash and whatever else is unstoppable in Silk Road, etc., except that's utterly wrong. There have been over 120 arrests because of Silk Road so far. Basically, as a form of drug trading and whatever else, Bitcoin is shit. It is an immutable ledger that is admissible in court, and the court's starting to realize that. And you can actually go back and trace through everyone who's been doing things. So as far as it works as legal money, Bitcoin is actually within the law in every single country. Silk Road was probably, in my opinion, the worst thing that ever happened to Bitcoin. I think if we didn't have Silk Road, we would have had banks and large institutions using it the same way that they were using e-gold and other things. Deutsche Bank was an early adopter of some of the coins back in the 90s. And if we'd seen that, we would have been years ahead. Silk Road set us back for nothing.
So going back to the point you made about Roger and Jihan, your major issue with them on how Bitcoin Cash forked off was that they included replay protection, and your stance was that no, it should have been no replay protection. It should have been the hash war should have been then at that point. Is that correct?
There should have been no replay protection, and they also undercut us with miners. So basically, you're looking at this idea that miners were sold a whole lot of lies. They were told that they would never, ever sort of get things sold from Jihan again. The 03 January 2009 Chancellor on the brink of second bailout. Well, if you actually read the article, you'll find out that you should read more than the headline. Banks are actually not the problem, and Bitcoin is not a bank. Sorry to tell you, it doesn't give you loans, it doesn't give you capital raising, it doesn't give you risk. Now, if you read that article, what you actually see that it says is that the Chancellor was going to buy the banks. They were actually being forced not to have an option of taking money. They were actually going to be nationalized if they did not do what the government told them. So read the article, you'll find that it's a different scenario completely.
But what do you think, though? I mean, because a significant portion of the community is attracted to these characteristics of Bitcoin, which allow it to function as a financial system totally outside of state and bank control. Not totally out, because you do make some fair points. They have made multiple arrests, and it is an immutable ledger, which provides an audit trail for authorities to track these things down. So I think a better word to describe that would be censorship resistant. I mean, Bitcoin has persisted throughout all this anyway. But what do you think, though, about the values that a lot of early Bitcoin supporters that attracted them to this, and this is partly how the value has come to Bitcoin? Do you feel like these guys are misguided, or that they can sort of coexist with your vision of how it's supposed to be used?
It's money. At the end of the day, money is neutral. Now, we're going to have people using it for everything from drug deals to donating to children's charities. That's what money's for. So it's not about whether it's against the state or anything like that. Bitcoin's not against the state in any way, not even remotely. Now, if you look back to 120 years ago, we had a world that was on a gold standard, not a gold exchange standard that came later, but a gold standard. Now, even then, it wasn't a one-to-one mapping, but it was set so that it was fairly equal. And contrary to what people said, it was fairly stable. There were times when people complained, such as the entire aspect of sort of the Yellow Brick Road and Wizard of Oz was about, that we're being crucified on gold. And that was really about farmers who'd taken out too much debt and were going broke with the introduction of threshing machines and other such things. And it was a push to keep small farmers profitable, which technology changes. So it's nothing to do with money. And the reality is what Bitcoin allows is far more than anything that these people are thinking about. It allows us to have a global, stable money, not one that can be debased, not one that can be written down in value, not one that can be inflated away, one that actually sets a baseline for government. Now, people say that that's so what? That is a remarkable thing, a measurement that actually makes people have to be honest. And it's important that it's not anonymous, that it is pseudonymous and private, because governments and big corporations, criminals, whatever else, they're the ones who benefit from anonymous coins. Governments especially. The worst people you want to have with an anonymous coin would be the government. Imagine you can't ever see what the government's doing.
Wait, so hold on. I just want to be clear then how you view Bitcoin versus fiat currency. So do you believe that Bitcoin is going to overtake and become the reserve? So I'm sure you've heard this book recently, and it's called The Bitcoin Reserve. The idea that Bitcoin will become like the new gold, and that this will be then how we are performing bigger settlements. Do you think that fiat is going to coexist, or is your vision that basically Bitcoin dominates everything, or how exactly do you see the end game in all of that?
Well, basically what I see is only Bitcoin, but Bitcoin as cash. Now, it has to scale on chain. It doesn't work off chain. There's no future for Lightning or anything like this, I'm sorry to tell you. People think that you can make it work. It is incredibly flawed. No, it's not going to be XRP. And sorry, you can't scale it. The thing people have got to get over is it will end up in data centers and it will end up in competing companies. That's just the way it's going to be. If you don't like that, well, too bad. But the truth of the matter is peer-to-peer matters not because you run a node, but because you can go up to another person and exchange directly. The level of anonymous transactions, as people seem to want and try and do, actually decreased because of the sort of removal of several aspects of Bitcoin, such as IP to IP. So if you look at the early days, rather than fixing some of the areas where there were a few problems, people just turned them off and then removed them. So you can go on XRP has more use cases than other whatever else, except I actually know what XRP is. Don't worry. It's flawed. It's just an old database. So say in the background, whatever you want, except the truth of the matter is very few people have yet figured out what Bitcoin even is. Now, if they did, they wouldn't be trying to fix malleability. They wouldn't be trying to add things like pay-to-script hash. They wouldn't be trying to change it every 2 minutes because none of those things were needed and, in fact, are detrimental.
We've had some big.
Hold on, Viper. Craig, does this tie into your situation with opcodes like OP False? And I read your Medium post and some of your other writings.
Yes, I mean, Op False was there, but it wasn't designed so that you could burn money. The idea of Bitcoin is to have 21 million and stay 21 million. Where people say about stealing money, if you have a an address that has not been used for 40 years, it's not miners or anyone stealing money. It's the fact that someone will come along and be able to mine that in time. The same way that hash mining happens now, you can find collisions on a RIPE MD address. So a 160-bit address has a limited lifetime. And miners will start to add power depending on how much each of those is worth, so that eventually they'll get swept back.
We've had a lot of news today about Bitcoin Cash, Jihan losing a position at Bitmain, board reshuffle, and also Bitfinex offering a chain split token for 2 versions of Bitcoin Cash. Maybe we can talk a bit about that now, Swapman.
Sure. I mean, so well, I wanted to also establish before talking about the fork stuff, like that I think people are unclear about your stance, Craig, on altcoins. Or shitcoins, as a lot of us talk. So you mentioned a little bit about XRP.
They are absolutely shitcoins, yes.
Absolutely shitcoins, and you're not in favor of a multi-blockchain sort of future where crypto.
The entire purpose of Bitcoin is to create stable money. The money that you're going to use in society is the totality of all use. So if you increase the amount of base money, and instead of having 21 million Bitcoin, you have 21 million Bitcoin and a pile of shitcoin X, shitcoin Y, shitcoin Z, then you're not actually creating global money. You're creating basically a series of rolling scams that have no value, because there is no scarcity in more than one coin. Once you have more than one, you don't have inflation. You have digital dirt, effectively.
Right. And then so that's the importance. That's the importance of the constrained supply, right? And so, okay, let's now shift to the elephant in the room, so to speak, the Bitcoin Cash upgrade that's coming up. So basically, SV and ABC have different roadmaps that are incompatible with one another. They have different rule sets.
ABC at the end of the day is there just to facilitate wormhole coin for Bitmain, which is what they want to do is integrate Plasma. That's why Poon and Vitalik have been involved, and they want to make it an experimental Ethereum version 2. So that's their entire thing. Bitcoin Cash is then a burnable gas for shitcoin version 2.
Okay, but I want to establish a couple of facts just to make sure that everyone's on the same page first regarding what's going to happen in 2 days. So ABC's code base is introducing consensus rule changes. One that involves ordering of transactions within blocks, and another that unlocks a block. Unlocks an opcode, check, sig verify or data sig verify.
And it doesn't unlock it; it adds a new one.
Okay, so it adds a new one. Okay, and then what SV is doing is introducing new rules which are incompatible, which will unlock opcodes, not new up. You're not going to introduce new opcodes, but you're going to unlock existing opcodes. Is that correct?
Which ABC were planning to do anyway. So that's actually on the ABC roadmap.
But it would be incompatible with ABC though at the time of the fork, right? So if I do a transaction. Yeah. So if I do a transaction that has invert, for example, one of these that you're going to unlock, it will not be valid on the ABC chain, but it will be valid on SV's chain, correct?
Yes.
So, and what you've been saying recently is that anyone who's doing this data sig verify splitting, those guys are at risk, right?
They are definitely at risk. We have more hash power. We're not like many pools in the past. We don't flip. We're not going to flip back and forwards. The only reason we're here is Bitcoin Cash. We are here for the long term. So we're not like most pools. Most pools vary depending on how much profit there is. We don't.
So, okay, but so when you're against people splitting using data sig verify so that they are putting them on the ABC chain. But are you in principle against people splitting by propagating transactions which will only be valid with SV's new consensus rules?
Yes, I'm against anyone splitting off at all. There is no replay protection here, and if ABC split off, they're going to find a world of pain.
But what I mean is, SV is splitting off from the current chain, correct? There's new consensus.
No, we are. what people haven't been told is there was a built-in hard fork by our shitlord that was a rather stupid thing making this happen. And in the original consensus group was meant to be op-mol and op-invert, etc. That was actually agreed months ago. The only reason they're taking it out of ABC is because just to be different from us.
But what I mean is the current chain that we are currently on, which is both SV and ABC currently already on.
The current chain has to end. They've actually put a kill switch in there. If it's not forked, it dies.
Yeah. So SV will be splitting. SV will be forking to a chain that has new rules, including op-invert and etc. etc. So if I want to protect my coins on that chain, are you against, in the same vein that you are against DSV for splitting on ABC, are you against people splitting on the Bitcoin SV chain?
You can do whatever you want, and if you want to burn your money short term, go for it.
But why is that burning? If it's supporting the SV chain, if it's only
there won't be a split.
But what I mean is that
there won't be a split. I don't care if it takes 2 years. ABC is not existing unless they put replay protection and leave SHA-256D. That's simple.
And that's actually something that Amoray has said would be the nuclear option, so to speak, right? That if in case there were ongoing attacks leading to reorganizations that led to such network instability, that they would in fact change the proof of work algo as a defense mechanism, correct? So
then you better do it today, because there's no other option for them.
So that's a good segue, because today you guys at the SV have 75% of the Bitcoin Cash hash rate. So you guys are securing that network right now. And additionally, we've heard that Jihan is apparently taking a less role at the Bitmain, and it's unclear exactly what's going on with the miners that are supporting ABC. However, as traders, we are watching the markets, and there are chain split markets currently being run on Poloniex and Bitfinex, and they are currently valuing the chain as about 20. The SV version of the coin would be 20% of the value combined. Do you feel that? Sorry.
And if you look at it, there was a 7% chance of Donald Trump winning. And I think at one stage they said there was an 85% chance that Brexit wouldn't happen.
Well, fair enough. Maybe right now the probability is miscalculated. But do you feel fundamentally that the market follows hash power, or that hash power eventually has to follow the market?
I think you're getting the whole idea of market wrong. That is a Keynesian/Marxist idea from Ricardo. It is not what the market is. The market is not Wall Street, is Main Street. The concept of the market being the just the margin there is a bad implementation of marginality theory, which was actually derived from a misinterpretation of some of the works like von Berg, because when Keynes actually tried to decipher some of the works of the Austrians, he didn't speak German, and he didn't bother to actually get a proper one. So Keynes actually made a whole lot of criticisms and whatever else, and called these things the market when they weren't. So I love how these people who self-profess to be libertarians call the market exchanges. It's not. The market is use.
Okay, but there's still a value for the token, right? Miners are mining the token. They spend money on the equipment and the electricity. They have produced something.
Short term.
Yeah, short term. Okay, but
except that we're not a short-term miner. I mean, this is the problem you've got. If you are Apple, do you go home because your Apple price has dropped in the market in a quarter? You don't. You just keep making things. So basically, I don't really care what the market tells us it's going to be. I've invested a long time. I mean, this month I'll hit 1,000 papers, and all of those go to patents. We have more patents now than IBM and all the banks combined. in the process, some of which you guys have no idea what the hell's coming. So you can go patent shit all you want, except this is how the real world works. The internet,
but don't you support?
There's over 1.3 million patents on the internet now. SendMail is patented.
But don't you support open source development so that everyone can share knowledge and build upon each other's? Like, we're building on the shoulders of giants. Like, why should there be state involved?
It is. So SendMail is open source. It's also covered by patent.
But it's so there's a difference between sort of a protective patent, so utilizing the state in a way to protect.
Not really. Stop using the state. I mean, all that bloody Marxist the state bullshit gets annoying and tired. Now, basically, if you try and use SendMail on the internet, you can. If you use it on Linux, it's free, it's included. If you decide you want to use SendMail and take it like Microsoft did and build a platform like they originally did, doing mail outside of the base protocol in the internet, you pay for it. So we're doing the same thing. If you build on top of Bitcoin Cash, go for it. If you want to create on XRP, then pay us money.
Okay, fair enough. So let's go back to the upgrade discussion. So most exchanges have made announcements that indicate support for ABC, despite the fact that SV is dominating the hash rate currently. So if most exchanges are going to be calling Bitcoin ABC's forked chain BCH, and if all the users want to call it, even if you have most of the hash rate, how are you going to ensure that Bitcoin SV's chain is going to be BCH?
There won't be ABC.
But and when you say that, you mean you're going to have you're going to perform reorganization attacks, 51% attacks against.
It won't exist. It is not a 51% attack. The white paper talks about stable money. That doesn't allow you to split off and have a million different versions. So,
but will you be able to? Is this a credible threat? If, for example, Calvin Ayre more recently has said that he will follow the longest chain. So let's say that maybe
over what period?
Yeah,
if we're
exactly.
talking 2 days. No, if we're talking 2 years, that's what we're talking.
Yeah,
at the end of 2 years, whatever the longest chain is, we'll follow.
Well, so Calvin is different. Calvin and CoinGeek are different from nChain and you, right? So let's say that
Calvin's actually going to follow the longest chain, not in 2 days. We're not here for 2 days. We're long term. When he says the longest chain, we mean at the end of this.
Okay, so let's play a thought game. Let's say that Jihan diverts a lot of his BTC hash rate over to BCH, and suddenly instead of
Jihan doesn't have a lot of BTC hash rate. He has pools.
Okay, but let's just play the thought experiment that a lot of the BTC hash rate moves over to BCH, and suddenly ABC has 90% of the hash rate, and then Calvin says, okay, you know what? That's the longest chain. So ABC's block height is going to exceed. ABC's block height will significantly exceed SV's block height, and then Calvin is going to then move over to ABC, and then all the exchanges are supporting ABC.
No, we won't.
But you say we, as in you and Calvin are the same.
Calvin and I have a partnership, and we talk, and I know what he's doing. And when we say that, we're not talking short term. We're talking long term. Calvin and I are partnered because we're both in this for the long term. He has invested hundreds of millions long term.
He's also stated that he will follow the longest chain, even if it's ABC. And so if the
long term.
But he has not specified the time frame, right?
Long term.
I'm not sure if he's. I'm not sure exactly what time frame he's put on.
Do you want me to just keep repeating the same thing?
No, okay. I think, guys, we'll just move on. Maybe move on.
Okay. So.
Sorry, my apologies. We'll move on to something else.
So one of the suggestions that
short term is 5 years. Get over it. Move on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. So some people are proposing an anti-split procedure, and I'm not sure what you think about this, but the idea is that they perform transactions.
ABC don't get to survive. The end.
So you're not in favor of the anti-split procedure by Wright?
I don't really care what people do on ABC chain. It's ending.
Yeah.
In good riddance.
Okay.
You say how much hash rate we pulled out. You don't know how much we still have. And you know who the biggest buyer of Bitmains was? Our group. So have a nice day.
Yeah, Shot, do you have any questions for Craig?
Of course. But more importantly, you know, when chains split, Craig, we could look at it from the point of view that, you know, essentially a dollar.
It's not splitting.
Forking, we understand what the economics are, though. Yeah, I'm not even talking about with ABC.
I don't really care what you guys think will happen. We are not allowing a split.
I agree. I'm not arguing. We're on board with that.
But
sorry, Craig.
But can we establish a basic technical fact here? Like the current chain, both ABC and SV are adopting new consensus rules, which will divert from the current chain. That's a split.
Okay, you're going to learn how hash.
Yeah, that's sorry, Craig. You mentioned earlier. Sorry, Craig. You mentioned earlier that every 6 months there's a.
Or whether anyone's adding consensus rules, we have enough hash power that ABC will be unwound.
I understand that. I understand the threat, but the point is both of you are introducing new consensus rules that are incompatible with the current chain. They're incompatible with the current chain, so you're forcing a split with SV. You're not following the current chain.
No, we are not forcing a split with SV, or they are.
You're adding new rules. Why are you adding new rules? You're adding you're activating opcodes which make it incompatible with the current chain. Of course you're.
It is incompatible. Okay, do you want to keep going with this, or do you want me to end? It is incompatible. On the 15th, it ends.
Okay,
either
I understand. I just want to make sure.
Or it ends. It is happening. The end.
But
move on.
Okay, I understand, but we just need to make sure we're using. When you say there's no split, there is in fact, like the current chain, like you said, is going to die. Like you said, it's going to die.
Yes.
Right? And then that's going to cause a new, maybe even temporarily.
Yeah. Sorry, it's the same. You guys are both talking about the same thing in just in different ways. Yeah. I'm sorry. We'll move on to something else, guys. I think.
Okay. So, how about so one of the things is that you're saying ABC will not survive. What's the end game? Are you thinking because Bitcoin BTC has the same algorithm? Is the end game to then go after them and to maybe?
I don't need to. Bitcoin's got a flaw in it, as in BTC.
What's Bitcoin's flaw?
So,
I'm not saying, but there is, because of SegWit and other things, there is a major flaw, and Bitcoin BTC is dead.
So there's a flaw that is going to be exposed that destroys BTC.
I have a question. Dr. Wright, so you say that Bitcoin ABC would be the end. And I have no adversarial position with you, but I want to know, how do you plan to implement the end?
He just told us all that.
SV continues, ABC doesn't.
Well, when ABC... But ABC will start, some people will be mining ABC, so it will split at least temporarily, right? And then you'll reorg that chain out of existence, essentially, right?
Here's another question. How do you plan to deal with future sort of schisms or whatnot, divergences in Bitcoin, in your community or communities?
It follows the white paper. It's the original version of Bitcoin. The end.
Is there anything that has come out from cryptocurrency since the white paper that you think is better than what was in the white paper?
No.
Nothing at all.
I think we've gone back 20 years.
So do you think this hard fork market, you mentioned that it's too early on, obviously, and that certain events have low probability going into it, but then reality turns out differently. Do you believe that the current markets on the Bitfinex and Poloniex are eventually going to follow over onto SV side, and that the economic community is going to support your chain in addition to the hash rate that you have secured on it?
They already do. We already have Handcash, we already have CentB, we already have Real Use, we already have people who want to put EDI. Basically, the entire value of cryptocurrency in every single chain at its peak, well, I mean, that is probably 1% of what I think we will be able to bring in, so as a yearly turnover. So that simple.
Well, the last 12 months don't seem to play that out, right?
The current turnover in the derivatives market in the US alone is $80 trillion. The turnover in EDI is $14 trillion. Walmart turns over 10% of that alone. If you look at
but Bitcoin Cash doesn't. But Bitcoin's cash transactions are in the toilet, so all those other figures don't matter. And there's no guarantee that when the vanilla world attaches their financial pipes to crypto is going to be Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash and even Bitcoin main chain, they have competitors, right? Good serious competitors with good technology.
No, they don't. Look, I don't really care. I'm not looking for your investment. I don't give a shit what you invest in. That's your problem. Look, quite frankly,
I'm not asking
this is
about
what
your
I'm investing
investments.
in.
No, it's not about
you can say what you want.
Craig.
No.
It's about technology. It's about technology.
Oh,
and
bullshit.
philosophy.
It's about technology.
Now, you and I are on the same page. I'm not like the other two. I'm a little bit different. I'm with you.
Okay. You want me
I'm a trader. Nah, hang on. I'm a trader as a profession, but I'm a technologist.
Okay, so you want to keep talking over me. You don't want to hear it. Have a nice day.
No.
Sorry, Craig. Please don't leave.
You got to get set up for these. These are important
So
questions.
you want to keep him
let
talking? You have
let him speak.
4, 3. Thank you. I don't really care what you guys want to say. It's very simple. I'm developing these things. I don't really care whether you like patents or not. They're there. They're in my chain. I don't care whether you like the people we're talking to or not. We are. Now, basically, if you want to put EDI on any blockchain, stiff bickies, you pay us freaking money because I patented it years ago.
But who wants it?
About 30% of world's commerce. The US government, the British government, Walmart, Tesco. Do you realize
the U.S. government? So you can point me to a Fed document that says the U.S. government has a contract for that technology?
Yes, actually 30% of all expenses in the US government go through EDI Fact.
Dr. Wright, do you have a quick link or sources to your patents that you're referencing? Because I'm very interested in what you're discussing.
No, but I keep putting them up on our pages and whatever else. And they are being awarded, and more are, and like it or not, they're going to keep being awarded.
So how do you feel about multiple node implementations for Bitcoin Cash? So SV is like your choice, but do you believe that there should be multiple forms of node implementations that are then following the same consensus rules, but are then, users have the right to...
Definitely. I mean,
and sorry, Dr. Wright, just 2 seconds. My apologies. Just to the whole room. If you guys we're asking Craig questions here. If you guys wouldn't mind just letting him finish. He seems to be getting interrupted a lot. So thanks, Craig. Please go ahead.
We didn't actually want to have to create SV. We created SV as basically because people like Armory and whatever else would not listen to miners. So Kelvin, myself, a group of guys from China, Taiwan, all approached and got told by ABC, literally, fuck off, you guys don't know what you're doing. You're just miners. You follow whatever the fuck we want, which is fairly much a quote from Armory, minus a little bit of time and error. He stood in front of us and told us that. He literally said, you guys do what the fucking exchanges want. You're just miners. You have no fucking clue. So we created SV. because we are miners. And I would love other people to keep doing this. So we actually have Terranode, which we're funding, which is to have terabyte blocks, as well as SV. And like every other businessman on earth, if someone would have done this without me paying for it and without the team and without other people like Kelvin putting money in, great. I would have loved people to have done this without us having to pay for it. I would love other people to do things without us having to pay for it. I mean, what businessman doesn't want freebies?
So could you tell us, recently there were a few 32 megabyte blocks mined on the network, and there's a...
Which were ours.
Yeah, and the Bitcoin Unlimited nodes apparently didn't handle it too well. Could you comment a bit about what this demonstrated? And because some people might be concerned that this indicates that larger blocks might be more unstable. Could you comment a bit on that?
No, larger blocks are unstable if you run ABC or BU. That's because they sat there going, oh, you can't do this, and argued with us rather than actually fixing things.
Okay, so to mining these blocks was more of a demonstration, basically to say these guys don't know what they're doing, but we do, or...
No, it's to show that it scales. To actually have valid applications that people want to use, we're going to have to get a lot larger than just 128. People don't seem to realize how little that is. I mean, the reality is if you're Facebook, you're transmitting exabytes worth of data, and we're sitting here bitching about megabytes.
So what do you recommend to the average BCH holder right now? They're scared about this upgrade having a lot of instability. There's going to be chain splits temporarily that resolve themselves, this and that. What sort of advice would you give to Joe Schmo, who has got an investment in BCH? He just wants to protect his private keys. When does he feel safe to actually transact again? Like, do you have any guidance for any users out there or exchanges about the best way to handle this?
Keep to basic, simple transactions. If you want to experiment with script, that's fine, but know that it's risky. Now, if you're doing something that is supported on all the chains, then you should be okay. The problem is going to come because you have a group of assholes who are actively trying to send dust around and split chains. And I'll say it quite simply, assholes. Because if you're actively sending dust to try and wreck people's money, you're an asshole. You're shitting on people. Now, the reality is the fact that there's a hash war should not matter to the user, apart from people actively trying to make it, to break people's transactions. I mean, after this happens, we've already been talking to lawyers and whatever else. People who are actively doing that from exchanges, I'm going to help fund bloody class actions against these people, because that's a form of, I mean, that's a tortious act. There's negligence, there's everything else, and these people doing that should be taken down and taught a lesson.
And at what point do you think that this will really resolve itself in the end?
Well, we're not stopping. I mean, people will be uncertain and think that I'm bluffing and that we're not going to keep this going as long as we need to make the chain win. Then you don't know me. I mean, I've been in court over an 11-year case, and I basically won because of attrition. I fought the ATO right down to a $78 amount. And ended up with more money back than was claimed. I'm one of these evil people who never let go of things that I believe are right.
Okay, I think Craig's got another interview in about 12 minutes, guys, so we'll do 3 more questions. Swapman? Sorry, can I get mic checks? I think we might have lost Swapman. My apologies, guys.
The show on.
Yes,
yeah, we're good. We're good.
Actually, was on things because he had a Bodog company that had money in gambling, and yes, he got away with that because he didn't do anything illegal. He had basically someone signed up as an American, also as a foreign person with dual citizenship to catch him in a sting, which they did. He wasn't taking American sign-ups at the time, and they purposely did it so that they would get him. So yes, that's Kelvin's thing. So,
but do you feel like that's at odds with some of the positions you've taken regarding not wanting Bitcoin to be utilized in sort of illicit activities? Or
he wasn't a criminal. I mean, all of that has closed now.
Right.
They went after him for years, and it turns out they were wrong. So that's simple.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, so how closely? I mean, because I still, when I read Calvin's latest post, he seems like
he's in the Panama Papers. So am I. So is the current PM. So is the last PM of the UK. So is the current tax commissioner in Australia. So is the last one. You're in the Panama Papers because you own a company in Panama. I own three. It doesn't mean I'm doing tax fraud. It means I own a company in Panama.
Yeah, there's literally nothing wrong with owning entities offshore. Like that's not illicit or illegal.
So you're a money launderer because you have millions. He wasn't an American. He's not an American. He doesn't go to America. I don't go to America. I don't step foot in the US anymore. I go to Canada and other places. Kelvin's Canadian. Now, saying he is evading tax in the US, for what? He's not American. He doesn't live in America. He doesn't trade in America. He doesn't have business in America. So stop this bullshit, you.
Yeah, and actually, in general, here we are very sympathetic with that, keeping away from US nexus. We feel like the US laws in general are ridiculous. They act like they're an empire and have global jurisdiction over everything. So we're very much sympathetic to at least that aspect of things.
Well, that's why I don't travel there anymore. I mean,
it's a total nightmare. Yeah, I mean, it's really bad. I mean, all it takes is a stopover flight in the US, and they get you on some stupid technicality.
I know. I mean, I used to do work with Sporting Bet, and I remember one day I came in and everyone was absolutely silent, and I found out the CEO had been arrested on a stopover, basically in New York or something like that, when he was traveling to Canada, and they did the whole you sign up or we don't let you go bit.
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous. But I guess their power in general is waning, right? So they'll be less and less able to do such things. So I'm thinking more about how long you're saying that this can go on for years, but when I look at Calvin's more recent discussions where he says that he'll follow the longest chain, and you say like long term, he hasn't specified, I don't think, the number of days or whatever, because
exactly, and I keep saying the same thing.
Yeah,
and we're not doing 2-day bursts. The longest chain is the longest chain at the end. When attrition happens and when everyone quits, that's the longest chain.
Yeah. I mean, but in the normal Nakamoto consensus, it's because the consensus rules are the same and the longest chain wins.
No, that's not the normal Nakamoto. I mean, I love the way people keep deciding what they think it is. It's not really what it is. And it's there to keep the system the same. It's not there to add shit to. It's not there to change it, because it is designed as it originally goes back to set in stone 0.1. The rules of the game are there. You play by them, because if you change the rules of the game, you're dishonest.
I have a question. Is there any parts of the game that we do not know of that you might be able to hint to? The system, so to speak.
Well, I have been. I mean, I've been saying how it's actually Turing complete in some ways, which people are now saying, oh, but that's only a total Turing machine, which actually does anything. It doesn't need to be infinite, because if you read what Turing says, it is a calculator. A calculator in Turing's time was a person. There is no such thing as an infinite Turing machine. that is an oxymoron that many people have grabbed.
What about advanced Turing machines?
All Turing machines are functionally equivalent. The bit you're talking about is efficiency. Now, where people go wrong is thinking that you need to have lots and lots of machines running things. You can have two oracles compute any function without knowledge of the other securely. And that's actually very efficient. So you don't need to do this Ethereum bullshit where every single node runs things. It's actually, you can't actually do that sort of sharding. It's already been mathematically demonstrated. What you can do is have three parties, two oracles and a controller. Now, the issue comes down if you look at some of these other people saying, oh, but someone knows. Yes, you do. You're the controller. So you can issue one set of commands to one oracle, another set of commands to another oracle, and combine them. And that's all you need to actually have a completely secure, totally distributed system with two oracles.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in here real quick. A few questions I'm reading in the box. Craig, is there any way that you and Roger and Jihan would potentially make up? What would that look like?
Jihan, not a hope in hell. The guy stabbed me in the back and I don't trust him. Roger, if Roger wants to support neutral, honest money, then I'm happy to have it. I'm not going to stop anyone coming and supporting Bitcoin and getting it out to the world. What I won't allow is this concept of building in systems so that you can have Silk Road in Bitcoin, that you can have bucket shops in Bitcoin, that you can do all these things in Bitcoin. Because as you've already just seen in the last couple of weeks, the SEC have already said, which I could have told you ages ago, that a smart contract is nothing special. The people developing the smart contract are still people.
Yeah. Would you be able to tell us about maybe how Jihan stabbed you in the back? I don't know if that's a personal thing. Would you be able to?
That goes back to the bit I hinted at before all this. Back over 15 months ago, we talked and we went over all our plans and whatever else to scale Bitcoin, make it happen. We would have been arguing about 32 meg blocks on BTC if it wasn't for this. Because what then happened was he went to miners and he basically said, you follow this guy and we don't sell anymore.
But this guy has 1 million plus BCH, right? Like he's heavily invested in the Bitcoin Cash. So
only so he has wormhole. The truth of the matter is he needs them for burning his gas in the plasma project that they have.
So yeah, basically you think he's trying to turn BCH into Ethereum, right?
I don't think. I've actually seen the document.
Plasma is not working yet, though.
Yes, I know, but it doesn't mean they're not going to stop trying to build wormhole. They're already burning wormhole with the theory that they will get plasma working.
Right. Just getting a question through from Telegram. Are you worried at all about the implications to crypto as a whole if BTC gets killed off?
No.
Are you
Sorry,
concerned
would you mind?
There won't be crypto.
Go ahead, Zeno.
The system only survives if one survives. If more than one are there, then everything will collapse. You can talk about maximalism all you want, but you can't have many types of gold. At the end of the day, one of the problems that that had dogged society 120 years ago was because we had bimetallism. We had silver and gold acting at slightly different rates, causing problems, which allowed people to bleed money out of countries. So the reality is a bimetal type crypto doesn't work either.
See, that's the question I wanted to get to earlier. Bimetallism brought Godwin's
Could you
law
go into a bit more detail? Because people are talking about the claiming this idea of like lost coins. That coins, just like metals, should never be lost, right? They just are somewhere else and can be found again. So what does this look like when miners can recoup lost coins? Could you kind of
exactly the same? As I was saying earlier, you can actually mine coins now. It's just really difficult. But you've got to remember that every 15 to 18 months, you gain 1 bit out of a crypto algorithm, disappears. And coins right at the moment are protected by RIPE-MD 160. Now, it's already been shown that they can break RIPE-MD up to 79 bits. So after you get past that, every 3 years, you gain 2 bits maximum. So start going over time and that moves forward. Now, in a large number of years, that means we will totally be able to break it on phones and things like this. But the reality is large amounts of money will be economically viable to mine within somewhere between 20 and 40 years. So if people have got large valued old stashes of coins, then people are going to start mining those. That's not anything I need to do. That's actually part of the protocol as it is now.
Shot, you had something you wanted to ask on?
Well, yeah, the point about bimetallism, because this came up earlier, what caused that issue was that they had a fixed rate between what's supposed to be a floating exchange, right? This is what causes Godwin's law. If you try to fix an exchange rate and then supply changes or whatever, you know, one currency is going to be undervalued, one's going to be overvalued, and that's why traders come into the market and deliver arbitrage. That can't happen if the government has a peg, right? But in other circumstances,
government's always there, so you're not getting rid of them. So if government selects one or the other, that's fine. But as soon as government has both as legal tender or both for payment of debt, then you have a problem. Because
no, you can have both. You just can't have them pegged to each other. You can have them float against each other.
Not really. You can't actually, that's the problem. You actually did have them float at one point as well. So we have bimetallism that has happened with floating. That actually was tried. We have bimetallism that was tried with pegging one, pegging both, pegging alternatives, pegging different in different countries. We have bimetallism where you have silver in one country and gold in another.
Yeah, but Craig, I'm an Austrian like you, right? I'm an Austrian like you. I've met Lou Rockwell, these guys. They have solved the problems of the late 1880s when it comes to this very issue. We know what happened. The peg is the problem. And that's the problem with a lot of the situations.
Okay, this is the last question. Sorry, guys, I'm getting wrapped up here, Craig. I promised Craig he'd be out by now. So sorry, Craig, answer the last one if you don't mind.
Everyone keeps saying they've solved it. No, it is the typical calculation problem. No, they haven't. And if you believe that, then you're not really an Austrian, because you should know that you aren't going to solve the calculation problem, and government.
Shot. Okay. That's a shot. Sorry, dude. Okay, well, Craig, thank you. Actually, yeah, swap, mate. Yeah, last question.
So Craig did say that it was a bit flexible. It wasn't that hard of a time. So, I mean, I think the current state of things in the market, if you look at the Poloniex, Bitfinex markets, it's currently valuing the SV token at much less. And it's technically trivial to secure the tokens on both chains. And so it's very likely that both chains persist, even though you're threatening to attack and kill the ABC chain.
No, it's not. You're thinking markets actually give it mean as shit. I mean,
they do mean as shit because miners need to profit.
Sorry, Swap Man, please let him finish.
Miners need to profit.
You think exchange matters. You think it matters that we're going to mine both. You're going to learn the hard way that it doesn't.
Craig, not a single.
If Craig, you want to be on an exchange, stiff fucking bickies.
Craig, Craig, not a single exchange has supported Bitcoin SV as being BCH. Every single one has supported ABC.
I don't really give a shit. It's not chain. Go for it. Craig. And by the way, Oki will.
So what's going to end up happening? Not a single exchange has supported
bullshit. We don't like.
Name one.
Threaten proof of social.
Okay, guys.
Chain.
And the fork market's valuing yours at only 20%. So
how
are you going to keep it running?
All right, you know what, guys, this is this is just God. Craig, look,
How are you going to run an unprofitable mining operation? How are you going to run an unprofitable mining operation for years? How long?
Please.
Wow, guys. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. Can I please have the room for 2 seconds, guys? Craig, thank you. Wow. No? Okay. No. Yeah. Look, Craig, dude, thank you so much for coming. I know you're super busy. You got the big the big talk tomorrow. Mate, we really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us. You've got a lot of strong personalities here and a lot of people with different views. So thank you very much for coming and chatting to us. Really appreciate it. Yeah, dude, this is obviously very formalized and, set up, but we're a big community here. You've got a lot of people. If you have a board, you want to come and have a beer, have a chat. You've got a lot of people here who'd love to chat to you. And yeah, mate, we really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
What I prefer to talk about, if you want to talk about why it actually has fundamentals, why it actually will do something, that's actually a better way, other than arguing about the other bullshit.
I absolutely want to talk about the fundamentals, the systems, the assets, and controls, security, maybe accidental things. I don't want to talk about market sort of bullshit.
I mean, the problem is that, yeah, exactly. Like after all the drama passes away, then it's easier to focus on that stuff. But right now, people are valuing the different tokens and trying to figure out how to assess things in the market sense. So until all that blows away, it's kind of difficult to focus on the other stuff, right?
Well, I'm a developer enthusiast, so I'm more interested in the fundamentals, not the market necessarily. Even though I do trade quite a bit.
Well, I mean, fundamentally speaking, these are SV and ABC have different consensus rules that are incompatible. So you can secure tokens on both chains. That's why there's a fork market. And right now you can go out and make a bet and determine which one you think is more valuable. If you think Craig Wright, his threat that he'll reorg ABC and destroy it is really going to happen, then you can go out there and bet in the free market and determine this. And whether he'll be able to mine at a loss and make this a credible threat, the market will determine, and the future will determine. And that's...
Well, no, the market won't determine. I will, but you guys are betting on whether you believe I will or not. There's a difference.
Exactly. Most of us are betting against you because that's what currently the market.
Go for it, because friends of mine will make a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay.
Bottom on B cash, baby.
Okay, guys.
Luck,
all right.
Craig. Wish you luck, Craig. Good luck.
Okay, yeah.
Have a nice day.
Dr. Craig, thank you so much for coming by. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, honestly, Craig, we really appreciate that you came and were open enough to have a conversation with us. We really appreciate it. And it's adversarial at times, but we like that you are honest and brutal and just put it out there. So we do appreciate you coming. Okay.
Talk to you later.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Craig. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Viper, for setting this up. It was good to have two Aussies coming together in such a way and producing this healthy dialogue.